Dylan Brooks wanted to poke the bear. Nobody realized that meant punching the bear in the nuts. The Clippers are one game from elimination, and the last man on the Dodgers roster has been the one keeping them afloat. Good morning, I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos Morning Report. It is April 23rd, 2023. It is Sunday. It's the Lord's Day. Take a few moments. Thank the Lord for everything that you've gotten in your life, the blessings, the good times, the joy. And if you like the content we put out, because there was joy in Los Angeles yesterday, clickety-clack the like button, clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And by all means, comment. We got a lot to talk about, specifically when it comes to the Lakers. Before we go through the news and notes, a look at the scoreboard. Lakers 111, Memphis 101 in Game 3 of their best of 7. The Lakers now lead the series 2-1, and it wasn't nearly as close as the final score would suggest. LA outscored Memphis 35-9 in the first quarter alone, just erasing all doubt. Put the game in cruise control. Anthony Davis and LeBron James combined to score 52 points, but there was a story behind the numbers. Isn't there always? In Game 2, Memphis' Dylan Brooks was talking a lot of trash at James. And then after the game, they were talking. Brooks said he doesn't respect anyone unless they drop 40 points on him. That he likes to, quote, poke the bear, unquote. My guess, he was trying to force LeBron out of his game. LeBron likes to distribute as well as score. Basically, if you try and keep the ball in LeBron's hands, you try to make it all about him and nobody else gets involved, especially Anthony Davis. You know, shooting so much, it limits everybody else's offense. All that did was bring the Lakers together, which is ridiculous. What made Dylan Brooks think that trash talk is going to work on a 20-year veteran who has had controversies of his own in terms of things like, I don't know, the decision and, you know, bouncing back and forth between from super team to super team? LeBron James is a made man in the NBA. That means he had backup. So the Lakers were clearly trying to send Brooks and the Grizzlies a message yesterday. And Brooks didn't like the message he got back. So he punched LeBron in the groin at the start of the second half. Now look, in the groin, the jewels, ouch. See, I don't know how much you like or dislike LeBron. You may hate his politics. You may think he's a little narcissistic and annoying. You may think he begs for calls too much, but ain't nobody thinking he deserved to get punched in the family jewels. I don't know anybody who think does anybody deny that was a flagrant 2? No, nobody does, because nobody wants to get hit down there. The story from Memphis should have been how Ja Morant returned and dropped 45, but nobody remembers that. I had to look it up. And why? Because Dylan Brooks threw a temper tantrum and blasted another dude in the nuts. Game 4 is back in LA on Monday. We'll talk a little more about it in a moment. Phoenix 112, Clippers 100 in Game 4. Phoenix leads that series 3-0. Look, Russell Westbrook did all he could. He scored 37 points. And he reached that plateau without attempting a single free throw. So the guy was just extremely dynamic. But we just can't complicate things. We don't need to. The Suns are in control of this series because they have their stars on the court and the Clippers do not. Game 5 is back in Phoenix on Tuesday. Dodgers 9, Cubs 4. Max Muncy homered twice. LA Galaxy finally get their first win of the year, a 2-0 victory over Austin FC. After 2 months, there's a win. There is also a rapid recap of the match on the Galaxy playlist. Meanwhile, Dennis Bwanga rescued the black and gold with a tying goal. LAFC won, Nashville won. LAFC is still undefeated on the year. Meanwhile, today, Chicago is playing the Dodgers at 11:20. Clayton Kershaw, 3-1 with a 2.52 ERA. Marcus Stroman, 2-1 with a .75 ERA. Edmonton is also playing the Kings tonight, 6 o'clock. It's game 4. The Kings are up 2-1. Kevin Fiala practiced yesterday with the Kings, but it was in a non-contact red jersey, so it's not likely he's going to play tonight. Let's get back to the Lakers for a couple of moments. The question is now, what happens to Brooks for game 4? Because a suspension is a distinct possibility. See, we talk a lot about all the crazy technicals that Draymond Green of the Warriors gets. We talk about Draymond Green's reputation. Dillon Brooks has a reputation. He just doesn't have as big of a reputation because the Warriors have won titles in the last decade. The Memphis Grizzlies are the Memphis Grizzlies. But Dillon Brooks is the guy who actually led the NBA in technical fouls last year. Moreover, while Green stomping on an opponent's chest is not a good look for the NBA, nobody in society approves of people hitting other people in the balls. It's straight and simple. I don't even think anybody respects that in prison. And I might add that the NBA overall has a groin punch problem. In the playoffs, which have only been on for a week, James Harden, Joel Embiid, they've all been issued flagrant fouls for gonad assault. The NBA needs to send a message. In society, we do not punch people in the gonads. Grow up, NBA. Former Lakers coach Phil Jackson said he stopped watching pro basketball when the NBA went into the COVID bubble out in Orlando. He didn't like the way that the players tricked out their jerseys during the height of a social justice movement. He told the podcast that I would never listen to, quote, "They had things on their back like justice, and a funny thing happened like justice goes to the basket and equal opportunity knocked him down for the foul." It was trying to cater to an audience or trying to bring a certain audience to the game, and they didn't know it was turning other people off. People want to see sports as non-political. Politics stays out of the game. It doesn't need to be there. You tell me if you agree. I can see that, but I could also see why a message needed to be sent. You let me know. Kawhi Leonard's sister, Kamisha Williams, was convicted of murdering an elderly woman at Pechanga Resort and Casino in Temecula. That happened back out in 2019. Williams allegedly followed an 84-year-old woman into the bathroom. The woman had a sack of money. Williams, 39, allegedly left with the sack of money and her accomplice while the victim left on a stretcher with a fractured skull. The victim died 4 days later. Williams gets life without the possibility of parole. Related to an NBA superstar still allegedly beating women to death for change in a casino. Proud days for the Inland Empire. James Outman was considered the last man to make the cut on the Dodgers roster. And oddly enough, very rarely does the last man make such a difference. I mean, you could say so with the 49ers last year and Mr. Irrelevant. But the Dodgers' Mr. Irrelevant turned out to be a damn good call too, because he leads all rookies with 7 home runs. And truth be told, he may be the one reason that the Dodgers didn't have a complete implosion in April. They're not great in April. They're 10-10, but that definitely keeps them around. Outman, it's either him or Max Muncy. Outman leads the team in batting average at .314. Muncy has 10 home runs, 19 RBIs, and a .419 on-base percentage. And this matters because if you think now, Outman being the last player on the roster wasn't supposed to get a lot of playing time. Is Outman's success leading to this experimentation with Mookie Betts in the infield? Because he is going to get more time in the infield, middle infield. This is according to the LA Times. Betts had been pushing for it for a while. Apparently, Betts doesn't even like playing right field, despite the fact that he's won 6 gold gloves out there. Dave Roberts was asked about it during spring training. The manager back then played it off. And of course he'd play it off. He knew what his infield looked like. At least he knew what it looked like then. Then Gavin Lux blasts out his knee. Miguel Rojas gets injured. Chris Taylor is dealing with a little bit of something. One thing that Rojas and Taylor are definitely dealing with is they can't hit. So, quote, I just told Doc, I just want to win. I'll play wherever. I'll do whatever. I grew up doing this, so it's nothing new. That would be according to Betts. Coach Dino Ebel noted that it looked like Betts had been playing shortstop for 12 years. So again, how does this matter? Because it matters on multiple fronts. One, the Dodgers love versatility within their roster. This is how Chris Taylor went from a journeyman to an everyday player to, I don't want to say superstar, but star with the Dodgers. Same for Max Muncy. But secondly, moving Betts to the infield enables more at-bats for decent hitting outfielders. Trace Thompson now gets time on a regular basis, as well as James Outman, because they can both hit a little better than any of the options the Dodgers had at middle infield. And finally, if LA doesn't get any production out of its middle infield when Chris Taylor is much closer to 100%, or when Miguel Rojas is much closer to 100%, LA theoretically would have to start searching for help at the trade deadline. And they're not just going to trade for any schlub, right? Who's the best shortstop that might wind up being on the trade market? Well, that would be Chicago's Tim Anderson. Now, I'm not saying he is on the trade block, but assume for the moment that the White Sox stink, and he is. Does anybody really think that the White Sox are just going to give that man away without trying to pilfer as much high-end talent from the Dodgers as possible? Exactly. Yesterday, we were talking about how the Dodgers at the beginning of every season would shuffle through players like it's a game of 3-card Monte. You know, now you see the player, now you don't, now he's injured, now we're bringing up this guy from AAA. File this one under now you don't. Jake Reed was summoned to the big club to be the 5th starter a couple of days ago. We talked about that. And he was summarily released on Saturday. Promoted Friday, released Saturday. What happened? They brought him in for relief in Chicago, and the dude allowed 6 runs in 2/3 of an inning. So as a result, Reed is gone. They promoted a relief pitcher, Victor Gonzalez. Gonzalez was part of the Dodgers in 2021. You might remember that. An elbow injury destroyed his 2022 season. He was last seen pitching in Oklahoma City this year, posting a 1.29 ERA. So, possibility for a little bit more strength in the Dodgers bullpen. If the Kings advance out of the first round, and it's abundantly clear that they are giving Edmonton yet another dogfight, take a moment and appreciate the ambition of general manager Rob Blake. You see, last year's Kings team had grit, but they definitely had holes. They did push the Oilers to 7 games last year, but they needed scoring. They needed a left-handed defenseman. They needed stability in goal. Remember, LA reached the playoffs because of Jonathan Quick last year, but Jonathan Quick was not stable in the net against the Oilers. He was pulled twice at least during that 7-game series. And Quick was straight up terrible during the regular season. So this brings us to Eunice Korpisalo, who was acquired during the trade deadline. Korpisalo was flying under the radar because the Columbus Blue Jackets straight up stink. They're terrible. But in the COVID bubble a few years ago in Toronto, Columbus upset the Maple Leafs and gave Tampa Bay hell. And that was because of the work of Eunice Korpisalo. Korpisalo holds the records for most saves in a playoff game with 85 in a 5-overtime loss to Tampa Bay. So from Blake's perspective, they wanted a goalie who was capable of stealing games. Korpisalo in all 3 games of the series so far has had a minimum of 30 saves. Once he had 37 in game 1, game 3 he had 38. Korpisalo has a .931 save percentage against the Oilers. So yeah, the man who's going to be a free agent in the offseason, even after this trade, is definitely earning his keep. TMZ reports former Rams wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr. was accused of grabbing a woman by the throat in a West Hollywood club a month or so ago. Here's the thing. It's not just Beckham's people who are denying the charges. So does the restaurant owner. So I bring the story up just to be thorough. I don't necessarily think Beckham did it because I wasn't there, and a lot of people saying he had nothing to do with what was going on. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Let me know what you think about the Lakers odds now, or for that matter, the Clippers. And if you enjoyed talking LA sports, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Corte El Queso production. Take care.